Hi, this is Andy Collin and Chris Pomeroy from Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised. And we're here with our podcast Movie Chat with some friends that grew up with us and got into the industry. And today we are with indie producer, writer, director Rob Burson. So let's jump in and hear his adventure into the indie filmmaking industry. Thanks.
Okay, a question to bring this back around to film, Rob. Andy kind of hinted at it earlier, but I wanted to see if we could dive a little deeper into it. Like when you're putting together an independent film and you're shooting it, say, in, I don't know, 5 different locations or something, versus shooting a full-length feature film, explain the difference and the nuance between those two processes. For example, if you were going to have Tom Cruise come in and shoot, you would probably shoot all in one day in the same one scene. Are you doing the same thing just at a smaller scale for independent films, smaller ones?
Well, I think you have imposed parameters. For if like we did some bar scenes in Hell of a Heartache, the only time we could use the bar was from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. No, it was like 8 a.m. It was earlier than that. It was like an early
the
call.
drunks show up at 9.
Yeah, literally. Like, so, because we were filming in a dive bar, right? And so we had this slot early in the morning that we could only use it for an hour. So you had to get in there, hope your extras show up, set up your lights and all your crap, and get everything going. Get your smoke machine going, and get everybody in position, and go and shoot it, and then plan on coming back. The next slot you got open, maybe 2 days later, you had another hour slot, and then pick up from there and film the slot. Either so it was that kind of thing with locations, is that you just had these little windows you were forced to work in to get those shots. And then sometimes if the location fell through for whatever reason, I think we were talking about this a little bit earlier, you'd improvise on the fly. Okay, this is supposed to be inside at this location, and we're riverside outside at this time of day. How do we make this fit into the movie? And you got to make it. You got to think on your feet and collaborate with how is this going to fit?
Borrow a bar stool and do a montage. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Throw a montage in there. Put some music behind it.
I find with indie film stuff, there's more of a collaboration with the team. In other words, everyone on board has interesting feedback, and it gets used from all over different. You have no idea the person delivering the sandwiches could come up with an idea that is a problem. And I feel like with the bigger stuff, it's more like, do you have permission to submit your
sure
answers, as opposed to everybody just spewing stuff out and just grabbing what sounds best. And everybody knows when you all hear it, you're all like, yes, okay, that's what we need to do.
Because if you can't do that, you won't make a movie. It'll be a mess. It won't happen. You just won't get done, pretty much. So you have to be able to, like, definitely I was not in terms of, it was definitely a I was the director, yes, but it was very collaborative in that way. I think that's one reason we all remained friends after spending 2 weeks together shooting a feature film, is it was very collaborative, and all ideas were welcome. The best idea wins, right?
Well, there's also a sense of trench warfare. So that sort of hunkering down and really grinding, and you got late nights, and 16, 20-hour days or whatever,
Right.
You really do sort of a connect. I mean, the first time I met Chris, he came out to visit, and we had a job, and we were right in the middle of a job. So basically we spent time hanging out while Chris was coloring on one side and I'm coloring on the other side, and we're working on one of these jobs.
Oh, you two worked? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It was a call doc, and it was one of those things where you bond in the production and hanging out and talking and going back and forth and working on the project and focusing on something also gives you room to sort of connect in a way,
Yeah, you bond. There's a bonding.
Telling bad jokes and listening to goofy music, it's
right.
Yeah.
One other question related to that, Rob, and I had a thought, when you're talking about a budget like you had, so in Athens, they just built a 100,000 square foot sound studio. and they're filming full-length features there and stuff. Did you do much in the way of sets or any, what did you use for props? How did you pull that all together?
We we didn't have a prop for it. It was us. It was just the 5-person crew. So here's an example. A lot of the movie shot in a seedy hotel room. We just like whatever trash was around, whatever was available, we littered I saved empty beer bottles for a month, and strewing those, or like stuff like that. Whatever we had, there was no prop person. We did that. If there was one scene where there's a shot of like this macaroni and cheese that's moldy, so we had to think of something for that. So we like used the lint from somebody's dryer.
Nice.
And that was represented the mold. It looked just like mold. It was cool. So we just sort of improvised in that way. An interesting thing at the hotel room was the first night we shot there, the hotel owner was super cool letting us do it. We trashed the place for the set, for the look of the set, and went home, and we came back the next day and it was totally cleaned up. They had come in thinking that we trashed this hotel room and cleaned it up behind us, and they were still like super cool to us, but we're like, you just fucked our continuity. But thank you for cleaning the room, and had to explain like, we will clean it. This is all set dressing and props and everything. It's not, So those kind of things are important to communicate. So that. I'll note on the actors, like these are all the actors. We had like 30 actors in this movie, I think. They were all local actors, either theater or filmmakers or whatever. We used all of them. And a lot of these guys, one thing we weren't able to do is have a rehearsal time. So it was kind of that thing where like, here's the script. I hope you kind of know your lines. We can we definitely tried to bring improv people in for that reason. And here's the script. We shoot in 10 minutes. Let's go. And then hopping in and going. And it kind of came off okay. Like there's a spontaneity, like a nervousness to it that came across in the final product. And I liked it. It got us away from like theater actors sometimes can over project. Obviously in film, if you think something, it shows up. If you think an emotion, it will show up. That's all you have to do. But obviously in theater, you're projecting to the back, you're wearing makeup and things like that. But sometimes if you throw those guys into this, okay, we're rolling, let's go. And there's a spontaneity that comes out, and a little bit of that theater like stiffness goes away. So
that's interesting. So but you still did multiple takes, right? It wasn't just all one shot.
No, we did multiple takes for sure, but we didn't always have a lot of time. Like I said, that bar room scene is a good example. You've got to, after you set up and everything, yes, you have an hour, but you have maybe 20 minutes of actual shooting time. So we did multiple takes, but not a lot, So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I find it inspiring because,
cool.
There's so much of the Hollywood thing where you're talking about a $25 million budget. Nobody's going to get a chance to do that.
Right.
But anybody potentially could come out and try to either collaborate with a movie like what you're talking about, or write one or whatever. That's inspiring. So
thanks. I think that's where we're at, though, for sure. I mean, with iPhones, you can shoot a movie on an iPhone now, and
when I go to Telluride, I mean, of course they bring in the ones that they're hoping will get picked up, but I really shoot for the independent projects because I feel like those are the ones that don't get the least looked at, and actually those are the ones with the most passion. Like you can feel the passion in the film itself. It's raw. It's in your face, Yeah. And I feel like that part to me is like that. When I see the people get bigger budgets, that part tends to fall away a little bit. Doesn't mean the film isn't good. I mean, Good Will Hunting was a great film.
Right.
It was a wonderful film. And,
right.
But it definitely, after that whole grunge approach, I don't think Gus was ever able to really match that. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
it was him using childhood actors, not Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Do you know what I mean? It was
that's
him.
right.
Matt Dillon for his first adult film was Drugstore Cowboy, and River
Mm,
Phoenix and Joaquin Phoenix.
hmm.
So they weren't really known yet, and they were sort of, in a sense, this was their push to sort of get a real
Right.
role.
And you're right. You can feel the passion and the edginess in that for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like
And
that's the magic of film festivals is that you actually do get to see that, whereas in the theater they don't. They're starting to show some of that, but not that as much.
well,
Yeah.
there's a break from the formula too that's refreshing, and I think that's
Right.
Little Miss Sunshine even, or anything where all of a sudden it's, or Nebraska, that it
Right.
was just here's these norms, here's the formula, here's the template, follow along, and then whoops, oh, something's totally different about this one. This is kind of
Right.
cool,
Right. That's, I think, if I can't find independent films, I go to like Europe for that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
like the Cannes Film
Mhm.
Festival,
Yeah.
looking and seeing, okay, what came out of that this year, because the structure is so much less important for like the French. It's like,
Yeah.
and for French films and things like
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
It's there, but it's not. You're not hitting. Who's the guy? The Save the Cat beats, exactly along the way.
That's I
Yeah.
do these double features where I
Yeah.
compare different films and stuff. And one of the double features I did was La Femme Nikita and Point of No
Yeah.
Return,
La Femme
which is
Nikita
such
is
a
one of my
perfect.
all-time favorite movies, man. The original?
Yeah.
Oh
Uh-huh.
my God, what a movie.
Well,
So what were you saying? Sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry.
I was but you can see why that movie was so well done that you could see Hollywood going, oh boy, if we did this way. And,
Yeah.
and in a way, the Point of No Return was kind of cool because they didn't use huge actors. And I mean, it was, Brigitte Fonda, who was just starting to kind of come up.
Right.
And I felt like it was kind of cool in that way that they didn't use, Julie
Right.
Roberts or someone
Right.
like
Right.
that.
Right. That would not have worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but it is true. I mean, there's so many. There's the French have got a lot of great filmmakers. Italian, Benicio del Toro, or I mean,
Oh yeah.
what's his name? The Life is
Guillermo,
Beautiful.
Guillermo.
Guillermo.
No, not Guillermo. Well, Guillermo del Toro, he too, yeah. But I
Yeah.
think isn't he from Spain?
Probably.
I think
Yeah, I'm
Devil's
not sure.
Backbone, if is a perfect example too of someone who just came off of a big Hollywood film like Blade with all the special effects and all the stuff and line removal and all that stuff, or wire removal and all that stuff. And and he came back after that and said, I just want to do a fun little film with my friends and do a fun little independent film.
Right.
And it was Devil's Backbone. And if you ever get a chance to watch Devil's Backbone, it's great because it's a perfect example of someone who you can see Guillermo is just a filmmaker. He's just
Right.
a filmmaker. He'll make a big film. He'll make a fun little passionate film. He'll make another big film, another little passionate film. And what's
Right.
great is it's not like other people where once they get the Hollywood thing, they can't really go back to that gritty indie approach
Right.
that that kind of is
Right.
the passion.
Right.
And so I feel like it's a perfect example of someone who is a big name director, but can dance around all over the screen on all kinds
Right.
of stuff.
I have not seen that, so I'll have to watch that right when we get off of this
It's a
today.
good one. I saw the premiere at Telluride,
Yeah.
and I had never heard of Guillermo del Toro, and I saw that, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is great!" And then I heard he did Blade, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Same guy. Wow. Yeah. So do you go to Telluride every year for the film festival?
We try. It really depends on whether I've got work in or whatever.
Right.
But because Aspen's just too crazy and too expensive and too nuts.
Is it?
It's like I say, it's changed from inclusive to exclusive. And
Yeah.
so what we've done is we've just made the Telluride Film Festival our salmon upstream to Colorado is the
Cool.
Telluride Film Festival.
Right.
Hi, this is Growing Up Aspen. Glad you enjoyed that last little blast, and I hope you stick around for a few more. We want to, the authors of Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised would like to thank you and ask you to, if you're interested, you can check out our book at twistandturnpress.com, or any local bookstore can order our book. So we will talk to you soon and hear more from some of our friends. Thanks.